Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jennifer Abreu. John has the night off. We want to get right to our top story tonight here on Ozarks Fox News. This is Real New Now. Hurricane Dorian now considered an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 130 miles per hour. The president has declared an emergency for the entire state of Florida. Residents of the Sunshine State have been stocking up on supplies and putting up storm shutters on homes and businesses. The looming impact of the storm has even caught the attention of NASA as the space agency has taken steps to move its mobile launch pad to a safe location. And the Air Force evacuated planes from bases in the state as the storm is expected to head toward the Space Coast. And one of Florida's busiest airports is shutting down operations in advance of Dorian. Orlando International Airport canceling commercial flight operations for Monday. The airport says it wants its 25,000 employees safe with their families when the storm hits. NASA is also helping keep an eye on the storm thanks to satellites in space. The National Weather Service is closely monitoring the path of Dorian and what it may bring to the western portion of Florida. Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer talked with the National Weather Service in Tallahassee, who says Dorian is nothing to take lightly and those who are in its path should prepare accordingly.
Here in Washington, federal agencies are keeping a close watch on Dorian. The president has declared a state of emergency for Florida. This frees up federal money and federal emergency officials to get moving on the ground and coordinate the disaster relief efforts. The FAA is ordering airlines to make plans for quickly restoring air service after the hurricane passes and urging passengers to check with their airlines about flight cancellations. Dorian is aiming at the east coast of Florida, but Mark Wool with the National Weather Service in Tallahassee says it's important for those on the Gulf Coast to prepare for the storm.
We are predicting a fairly sharp turn to the north. So a delay in that turn could bring conditions, serious conditions to the west coast of Florida. We kind of went through that situation with Hurricane Irma a couple years ago, where it was predicted to make a sharp turn, and it did, but it almost got to the Gulf of Mexico. So impacts along both sides of the state were significant.
Wool says most of the state of Florida can expect heavy rain, high winds, and extensive flooding. Reporting in Washington, I'm Kelly Meyer.
New at 9 tonight, Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt was on MSU's campus today. He went to the Better Life and Recovery's Addiction and Recovery Summit. We want to bring in our David Chasanoff now, who spoke with Schmidt at the event. The Attorney General led an awareness walk to Hammons Field. I understand he was also at the Cardinals game where he threw out the first pitch. Now, while that was the fun aspect of his visit, he also had some pretty serious conversations with community members. He was hearing stories of people who have been impacted by the opioid crisis. David, how did he react to that?
Yeah, he says he was inspired by their bravery. He says something must be done about the 1 in 65 Missouri deaths caused by opioids.
I think it's important for us to galvanize all of our resources and our collective energy to try to do something about it. And so this is encouraging, and we want to honor the courage of the people who are here today.
David, did you also speak with some of those people who were sharing their stories who have been impacted by addiction?
Yeah, I did. I met with 2 parents affected by their kids' addiction, and I also talked to a student who is currently recovering.
I was drinking and using drugs for several years, and then I was failing out of school, and I was going to the hospital and getting arrested.
Annie Powell sought help in 2016.
It wasn't the outside consequences that did it. It was just that, I didn't have anything to live for anymore.
Powell is now 3 years sober.
It's incredible. It's hard for me to believe that I've done it.
Powell's parents supported her during her recovery process. Father Jack Reed says more parents should be like this.
We can't judge too quickly, and we need to look at ways of treating people more with respect and the medical issue versus just putting a label on folks that they're addicts.
Reed's son took painkillers in college to recover from elbow surgery.
Ultimately got addicted to painkillers as a result of that. Went through rehab a couple of times, really struggled.
Reed was patient with his son, and it helped him succeed.
Now he's got his degree and working very diligently on improving his life and moving on.
Mary Hunt's daughter took Xanax and later heroin.
Got in some legal trouble, went to prison for a while.
After prison, she went to rehab and is now 16 months sober.
I'm so proud of her for not only finally getting through it and going through all that she did, but now helping young people also, that were in her situation.
Hunt says people changing their opinion about addiction could save someone's life.
Need to realize that it's altered their actual brain, and it takes longer than a couple of days in rehab for them to get better.
News now. Addiction is a word we often associate with drugs, but it can also take other forms, such as addiction to technology. That was also a topic at today's summit at Missouri State. The average teen checks their phone about 80 times per day. Experts say while social media is a good tool to connect people, it can also create problems for your well-being. Mental health clinician Sean Fawcett says app developers create their platforms with profit in mind. He says social media apps are actually designed to hook you. Fawcett suggests some practical ways to curb your screen time.
One practical way to do that is to put the apps that you find yourself spending a lot of time on, to bury those in some folders on the third and fourth screen of your phone and disable notifications for those. And that way you're not getting hit with that intermittent feedback throughout the day, and you can kind of check it more when you're ready rather than being pulled back into that experience repeatedly throughout the day.
Fawcett says heavy smartphone use can often be associated with underlying problems such as stress, anxiety, depression, or loneliness. In a traffic report for you now, good news for Labor Day travelers heading south to the lake. If you take 65, it's open to 3 lanes between Evans Road and Route CC, also known as Route J, between Springfield and Ozark. MoDOT says you should still be careful driving on that part of 65 as you get used to new traffic patterns. Southbound right lane of Route 65 becomes exit-only lane at Route CC. Checking on news from around the region now, starting with the investigation into a St. Louis teenager shooting death. Since April, 10 kids have been shot to death in St. Louis. Police are still working to solve all of those crimes, but Friday they announced an arrest in one of the most recent killings. This man, 54-year-old Joseph Rennick, is charged with murder. He's being held on a $500,000 bond. Police say he shot and killed 15-year-old Santonio Cox Sunday. Rennick is one of just 2 suspects arrested in the string of murders. Police are still investigating. Well, a student from Ole Miss has been indicted on capital murder charges in the killing of a fellow Ole Miss student from Kirkwood, Missouri. Brandon Thiesfeld of Fort Worth, Texas, is accused of kidnapping and killing Allie Koschel. Her body was located back on July 20th near a lake about 30 miles from the Ole Miss campus. Officials say Thiesfeld denies the crime, maintaining his plea of not guilty. He has been suspended from the university and is currently in jail without bond. Moving on to our local weather now. Beth, rain, go away, but not until Monday it's looking like, right?
Yeah, we here locally in the Ozarks will keep that chance of showers and storms through the day tomorrow and a little bit into Sunday, but your Labor Day holiday looks good. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and I've got some updates on Hurricane Dorian. We'll do all that right after the break. Don't go anywhere.
You're watching Ozarks Fox News at 9 with John Adams, Jennifer Abreu, and weather with meteorologist Beth Finello.